morning, campers. I'm just leaving Cosby Knob Shelter, Tri-Corner Knob Shelter, 7.6 miles. It's a little past the halfway point for me today. It's a 13-mile day, well, 12.9, to Pecks Corner Shelter, I think it's called. So I've got a little bit of an uphill right now, and then downhill, and then that's about 1.5 miles from here, and then a big uphill. It's like for like 4.5 miles, it's mostly uphill climbing, and then it's like up, down, little stuff. So I think that's the biggest climb of the Smokies, other than Clingman's Dome. Everything else is like little ups and downs. You're basically on the ridge line at that point. So when I get to the next shelter, take my lunch break, and it should be relatively easy hiking. Beautiful day today. It's gonna hit the 60s. Clear, a little windy, gusts up to 30 miles an hour. It's supposed to have rain tomorrow, starting sometime in the afternoon. Unfortunately, I have a big day, a 15.4 mile day. So I'd rather have a short day so I get to the shelter before the rain starts. There's no convenient shelters between Pecks Corner and Mount Collins, I think is the one I want to go to. So I'm just gonna be ready for the rain tomorrow. Might get a little wet. Then I'll have 3 more days to the hostel after I get out of the Smokies. So that's the plan. Don't know how much video I can get with this wind. It's noisy, but you can see the leaves are just raining down. It's like snowing leaves. You just see them everywhere. The wind is really blowing them off the trees, so I don't know how the views are going to be. Foliage might not be that good anymore because even though it's at peak, the wind is blowing them all off the trees. So I guess we'll see when I get up there. But by the time I get to Clingman's Dome on Monday, there might not be a whole lot of good, colorful views from up there because a lot of the leaves will probably be blown down. So anyway, I'm off and running. So I got a bunch of steps ahead of me. And some people like steps. I used to like steps. I don't like them so much anymore because a step forces you to take a step up of a certain size rather than just, if it was just sloped, I could take big steps, I could take small steps, I could take medium steps. But a step like this right here, that forces me to step up. I have to put my foot up there and then push my entire body weight up. And that requires more energy sometimes than just small shuffle steps or baby steps. And I understand that these are here not necessarily as steps per se, not here for hikers' convenience. They're here for erosion control to prevent dirt and rocks from washing down the trail. But I've found that it's more tiring walking up steps like that than it is just walking up a sloped trail like this. Like right here, I can decide how big of a step to take. But when I get to a step, I'm forced to step up as high as the step is. So take it for what it's worth. I believe that is a little side trail to the remains of a plane crash. I'm not going down there. It's steep, number one. Number two, there's not much to see. The comments say there's just a couple pieces of crumpled metal. Don't even look like they came from a plane. But apparently a military aircraft crashed either in the 80s or the 50s, depending on which account you believe. I wonder if that's a piece of something right down there, that white thing. Maybe not. I don't know what that is. In any event, not much to see. Apparently crashed 450 mile an hour in the fog. How's it going? Hey, sorry I got interrupted there. I was talking about the plane crash and I came up the trail and there were 2 people sitting on the trail taking a break, so I stopped filming. But apparently a plane crash there. Military aircraft in the fog, 450 miles an hour, killed everyone on board. Probably a lot a lot of the debris is embedded in the mountain, I'm sure, at that speed. So just a few pieces of crumpled metal left. Nothing exciting, not worth the side trip. You know, that other plane crash I saw back up there in Maine, that was cool because you went right by it, you know. You can see it was a plane. It's a nice view behind me here. That concrete. It's an old helicopter landing pad. I used to land helicopters up here for some reason. I'm just about 2.5 hours into my hike. I've covered 5 miles, so 2 miles an hour. It's been a lot of uphill, so I don't feel too bad about that. There's still uphills ahead, but the big climb is done for the day. It's small ups and downs, a couple hundred feet here, a couple hundred feet there, up and down, up and down. Nothing really tremendously challenging, I don't think, I hope. So, I'm going to stop at the next shelter. It's still about 3 miles away, 3.5 miles away, something like that. Stop there and have my sit-down lunch, sign the register, and then push on to the shelter where I'm staying tonight. That's the problem with the Smokies. You have to stay at the shelters. There's no stealth camping, no backcountry camping. So that means I have to stop today at 12.9, otherwise I got to push to the next shelter, and it's just too many miles. And then tomorrow I got to do 15.4 miles, and it's supposed to rain, so tomorrow's going to suck. I really don't want to do 15.4 miles, especially if it's going to be raining at some point later in the day. So I'm just going to have to get up early, hit the trail first thing, and just try to make as many miles as I can before the rain. Hopefully get to the shelter mid-afternoon before other people get there and have a chance to dry out a little bit. And then I still have 3 days until I get to a hostel, so I hopefully won't get my stuff wet, because that'll be miserable, 3 days of wet clothes. This sort of boreal forest reminds me of Vermont and parts of New Hampshire and Maine. It's these thick coniferous trees, lots of moss on the ground, moss lining the sides of the trail, lots of down trees covered in moss. Very similar to parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Very interesting. Tri-corner shelter down this way. Time for a break. Well, interesting that they allow horses up here. Usually the AT is not horses aren't permitted on the AT. But the shelter's pretty. Can you imagine sleeping underneath there? You got like about 2.5 foot of head clearance. But I'm gonna take a quick break here and then move on. So I'm just leaving the Tri-Corner Knob shelter, and some other hikers came in. They're doing a section hike. A couple of the guys had thru-hiked a few years ago, but this is crazy. They were at the Pecks corner shelter, which is where I'm going, about 5 miles or so, and they said there's bear boxes there. They were like, oh great, we like bear boxes better than cables, because they are better than cables. Your food is protected from the elements, not just bears. I've never heard of this. They put their food in, closed the bear box, and the bear box locked, and they couldn't get it open again. It locked their food inside, their cook pot, and their spoon, and they said they tried everything. And they said then they noticed that there was some kind of master lock in part of the door or something weird. Anyway, I got to go check it out when I get there. But they called the ranger, and they said the ranger wasn't very nice to them about it, saying something like, it was open? Well, you're not supposed to put your food in food boxes. You didn't read your permit. I read my permit. It says nothing about do not put your food in food boxes, in bear boxes. It says hang your food on cables. Okay, great. But when there's cables and bear boxes, oh, every hiker you talk to will say bear boxes are way better than cables. There's no technical know-how. There's no chance that it's gonna, become, dislodged. There's no chance it's gonna get wet in the rain. There's no chance a squirrel isn't gonna get down there and, chew on your bag. the bear box is superior in every way to bear cables and bear poles. I'm sorry, they are. They're just superior. And everyone loves bear boxes. So, yeah, this ranger lady, I guess, was like, you're not supposed to put your stuff in there. I can't believe it was open in the first place. So we'll have to send a ridge runner out next week. As the earliest we'll get someone out there to get your food out. These guys had to like scrounge food from other hikers to make it through the rest of their hike. They're only going one more day, today and tomorrow, then they're done. But still, that would flip me out if my food got locked inside a bear box like that. I've never even heard of that before. So we'll see what the situation is when I get there. But they said, oh, if you can get it open, you know, there's a lot of food in there for you. So we'll see what's there when I get there. But that's just crazy, absolutely crazy. And for that ranger to react like that, like it's their fault, no, I'm sorry. It's their fault, the ranger's fault, for not ensuring that that box was, number one, locked properly so that no one could get it open. Number two, no sign on it saying, you know, do not use this box, could lock automatically, blah, blah, blah. Nothing of that sort. If you don't want somebody to use something, label it or get rid of it or disable it so it can't be used. And they failed in all three respects. They didn't remove it, they didn't put a sign on it, and they didn't disable it. So, boo. Boo to the Rangers and the Smokies. Oh, one more thought about the Smokies so far. Now that I've spent one night here and I've seen a couple of I've seen 3 shelters. I'm not sure what my $20 is going for. It's not going for shelter upkeep. I've seen a couple of pretty decrepit shelters. It's not going for privy upkeep. Privy wasn't that impressive. It's not going for nice water sources. It's not going to build nice tent pads for people who need to tent. I'm not sure where the money's going. All I've seen, I guess there's no blowdowns so far. I haven't had to step over a tree. That's the only difference I've seen. And I've only been on about 20 miles of not even 20 miles of the trail yet. About 16, 17 miles. So I don't know where the $20 goes. But you think of all the thousands of people paying, they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know where it's going. It's not going to build nicer shelters, or nicer privies, or nicer water sources, or tent pads. You got me. It's going down a black hole somewhere, apparently.